All right, students, here we go. Now, we actually found our displacements for the x and the y direction. I say we found our displacements, but we actually found them on the sheet. We just found them on the sheet. So now we want to calculate our displacements in the x and in the y. So what I'm going to do real quick, let me get rid of this formatting. Here's our x, here's our y. I'm going to go to this cell, and I'm just going to call this x displacements. How about that? Because it'll be multiple displacements. And of course, they are measured in meters. So I want to keep that in mind, what we're doing here. And then we'll also have y displacements here. And again, this will be measured in meters. Okay. So this is the way I want you guys to do it. I want you to go ahead and select on this cell. Once you select on this cell, just double tap, go to 1, 2, 3 right here, and let's select on the equal sign. Once we select on the equal sign, let's go ahead and type in or select on cell B3 and then subtract B2 from it. So I'm going to select on B3. You can always type it in, and then I'm going to subtract B2. All right, so you'll see B3 minus B2, and it'll be coming up in just 1 second. And so now I can just hit the check mark right here. Once I hit the check mark, you'll see that the calculation was done. Now, know that the initial x is 0.00483, and the final x, or the final position in the x direction, is 0.397097. So these are the things that we're subtracting. I'm going to grab both of those, okay? And what I want to do is I want to merge them. And so now they're merged. If it's not centered and middled, just select on the icon right next to, this is the merge button that I just used. And select on the icon right next to it, okay? And you can actually center and middle it to make it look like this, okay? So that's what I did, okay? So now I am going to go here and I'm going to select on fill. So all I did was tap on this cell and I'm going to select on fill. If your keyboard is up, you won't be able to do this. So make sure you drop your keyboard and then tap on the cell. I'm going to select fill. Once I select fill, I'm going to drag down using the arrow pointing down, and I'm going to stop where the data stops. And you'll notice that all of my data points are positive, and they're approximately 0.4 meters, okay, all the way down. And that is because we have 0, 39, 0, 39, 0, 39. You follow what I'm saying? You don't have a 0, 0, and then a 39, 39. If you have that, your data is incorrect. You either have to go back to the experiment, redo it, or fix the data here, okay? So my preference is that you go back and fix the data. Now, why would that happen? Why would you have extra little, like a 39 and a 39? That means that you touched on the experiment at the final position twice. It's always the initial position and then the final position, and then the initial position again, and then the final position, and then the initial position again, and then the final position. Initial, final, initial, final. It's not initial, final, 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 final. It doesn't go like that. Okay. So hopefully I stressed that well enough. Okay. So now we want to calculate the y displacements. And we don't necessarily need to do the same thing. I could, but what's more powerful is if I just grab all of this data, okay, select on fill, and then drag to the right. And what you'll notice is that all of my numbers are coming out to be approximately a negative 0.08 meters. That's because the ball actually fell from our origin. It went down compared to where we started our origin point, if you remember. And again, we have 0, the final position, initial position, final position, initial y, final y, initial y, final y. Y'all follow that? Okay, good. So the next cell, I want to actually put in average x displacement. So this is going to be one calculation. It's going to be in meters as well. We're going to take all of those values for the x displacements, and we're going to add them together and then divide them by 10. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing for the y. All right. All I did was fill and drag over, and when I do that, I actually have to change the x to y. Okay. So I'm just going to double tap on this cell. I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3. Say equals 2. Once I say equals 2, I'm going to go ahead and go back to ABC and start typing average. Once I type average, what I want to do is I want to select the column F here. And so when I select this column F, it's going to put in F colon F. And so once you put in F colon F, it's going to take all of the values that's in that column that are numerical, add them together, and then divide them by however many variables you have, not variables, however many numbers you have. So I'll just hit return, or I'll hit the check mark here. Okay. And now we have our average y. This is not y. What have I done? This should be x. So I changed the wrong thing. This is x. And this one is supposed to be y. So now that we have the calculation for the average x displacement here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select on that again and use our fill button and drag to the right. So you'll see that the calculation for the y displacements, the average y displacements, are done for us as well. I'm thinking that that's pretty clear for you guys. And it's all based on the theory that we were looking at. When I say the theory that we were looking at, if I go back to paper by 53, you can easily look at our theory here. And in the beginning, we were looking at delta x. So you see delta x is equal to xf minus x naught. But we also have delta y. So we're going to use those same ideas. If we go back here, let's see, go back a little bit further. Probably can go all the way back. We have delta x that we need, and we're going to find the average. And you should ask yourself, why are we finding the average? Well, we're finding the average because we want to eliminate error. So we have our delta y here. Okay, so we need delta y to find the time, and then we need we need delta x and the time to find the initial velocity. So that's what's going to guide us in these next steps. So I'm going to go to column J, and in column J, I want to put in time of flight. Time of flight will be in seconds. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click on this. Remember that the time of flight was equal to the square root SQRT of a -2. So I'm just going to go back to 1, 2, 3 here. I'm going to press negative and then 2 times the height. Now the height that I'm speaking about is this average y displacement. So the average y displacement. And then we're going to divide that by 9.81. This is our time of flight. Once you're there, we can now calculate the initial velocity. Remember that the initial velocity is just the average x displacement over the time of flight. The initial velocity here is equal to the displacement over the time of flight. We just calculated our time of flight. So let's go back here. And we're going to call this our initial velocity. And the initial velocity is going to be measured in meters per second. So this is equal to 0.039. So you go over to your average x displacement, and then you're going to divide this by time of flight. And lo and behold, I'm coming up with 3.098. So you guys should be similar or close to that. All right.